you need to leave a place to figure out how much it means to you. And I think most of the people in this room really understand that, because most of us got here sort of after living in other countries or cities around the world. And not all of us are American, but many of us have lived in the States and come back to Rome. And we all got away for our own reasons, but here we are. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge how important our roots are, and that we could all show up to be together, celebrate art, celebrate literature, celebrate music, celebrate one another. The fact that we're here, and fuck them if they can't take us. All right, Don, it's all yours.
Hi, I'm Don Carroll. I'm a lawyer here in town. I'm going to read a piece by Allen Ginsberg that he wrote, or was published, in 1956. It's called America. America, I've given you all, and now I'm nothing. America, $2.27, January 17, 1956. I can't stand my own mind. America, when will we end the human war? Go fuck yourself with your atom bomb. I don't feel good. Don't bother me. I won't write my poem till I'm in my right mind. America, when will you be angelic? When will you take off your clothes? When will you look at yourself through the grave? When will you be worthy of your million Trotskyites? America, why are your libraries full of tears? America, when will you send your eggs to India? I'm sick of your insane demands. When can I go into the supermarket and buy what I need with my good looks? America, after all, it is you and I who are perfect, not the next world. Your machinery is too much for me. You made me want to be a saint. There must be some other way to settle this argument. Burroughs is in Tangiers. I don't think he'll come back. It's sinister. Are you being sinister, or is this some form of practical joke? I'm trying to come to the point. I refuse to give up my obsession. America, stop pushing. I know what I'm doing. America, the plum blossoms are falling. I haven't read the newspapers for months. Every day somebody goes on trial for murder. America, I feel sentimental about the Wobblies. America, I used to be a communist when I was a kid, and I'm not sorry. I smoke marijuana every chance I get. I sit in my house for days on end and stare at the roses in the closet. When I go to Chinatown, I get drunk and never get laid. My mind is made up. There's going to be trouble. You should have seen me reading Marx. My psychoanalyst thinks I'm perfectly right. I won't say the Lord's Prayer. I have mystical visions and cosmic vibrations. America, I still haven't told you what you did to Uncle Max after he came over from Russia. I'm addressing you. Are you going to let your emotional life be run by Time magazine? I'm obsessed by Time magazine. I read it every week. Its cover stares at me every time I slink past the corner candy store. I read it in the basement of the Berkeley Public Library. It's always telling me about responsibility. Businessmen are serious. Movie producers are serious. Everybody's serious but me. It occurs to me that I am America. And I'm talking to myself again. Asia is rising up against me. I haven't got a Chinaman's chance. I'd better consider my national resources. My national resources consist of 2 joints of marijuana, millions of genitals, an unpublished private literature that jet planes 1,400 miles an hour, and 25,000 mental institutions. I say nothing about my prisons or the millions of underprivileged who live in my flower pots under the light of 500 suns. I have abolished the whorehouses of France. Tangiers is the next to go. My ambition is to be president, despite the fact that I'm a Catholic. America, how can I write a holy litany in your silly mood? I will continue like Henry Ford, My strophes are as individual as his automobiles, more so, they are all different sexes. America, I will sell you strophes for $2,500 apiece, 500 down on your old strophe. America, free Tom Mooney. America, save the Spanish loyalists. America, Sacco and Vanzetti must not die. America, I am the Scottsboro Boys. America, when I was 7, Mama took me to the communist cell meetings they sold us. Sold us garbanzos, a handful of ticket. Per ticket, a ticket cost a nickel and the speeches were free. Everybody was angelic and sentimental about the workers. It was all so sincere, you have no idea what a good thing the party was in 1835. Scott Neerling was a grand old man, a real monarch. Mensch. Mother Bloor and the Silk Strikers, Ewig Wieblick made me cry. I once saw the Yiddish orator Israel Amter plain. Everybody must have been a spy. America, you don't really want to go to war. America, it's them bad Russians. Them Russians, and them Chinamen, and them Russians. The Russia wants to eat us alive. The Russia's power mad. She wants to take our cars from our garages. Her wants to grab Chicago. Her needs Red Reader's Digest. Her wants our auto plants in Siberia. Him big bureaucracy running our filling stations. That no good. Ugh. Him make Indians learn read. Him need big black niggers. Ha! Her make us all work 16 hours a day. Help! America, this is quite serious. America, this is the impression I get from looking into the television set. America, is this correct? I'd better get right down to the job. It's true I don't want to join the army or turn lathes in precision parts factories. I'm nearsighted and psychopathic anyway. America, I'm putting my queer shoulder to the wheel. Berkeley, January 17, 1956.
I know, she's exciting.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Keisha DeFreeze Lawrence. I'm Ramapo Lenape from Mahwah, New Jersey. For those of you who don't know, I'm Native American. I would like to say Katabatash to everyone who put this together. That would be thank you in Algonquin. And today I'm telling a Native American Iroquois Northern Nations story. It's called the Creation Story. It's more or less our Bible. So like all good Native stories, once, long time ago, the Creator had made animals, our brothers and our sisters, but he had yet to finish man and woman. So the Creator was thinking long and hard as to what he needed to do for man and woman. He had the outlines, but he didn't have any substance yet. So he summoned all of his brothers and sisters. He summoned Brother Bear, he summoned Sister Deer, he summoned Brother Eagle, and he asked them, what should I do with this gift? Where should I put this substance for man and woman? Well, like always, the first to speak was Tatanka, Brother Buffalo. And he said, you know what, Creator? Give me this gift. I'm going to take it to the grass plains. I'm going to take it to my home. I'm going to put it deep within the plains. Man and woman, when they need this gift, they'll have to come find it. They'll have to ask me for it. Okay, Tatanka. Creator thought about it. He summoned the animals back together and he said, I'm sorry, Brother Tatanka. This is not going to work. I had a vision, man and woman, they're soon going to dig up your plains and they're going to put black rock everywhere. There will be nowhere for you to roam. There will be nowhere for you to have a family. Tatanka, very angry and depressed, left. The next to speak was Brother Eagle. He said, Creator, you know, if man and woman need this gift, and you don't necessarily want them to find it right away, give it to me. I'll take it beyond the moon. I'll take it to the stars. Man and woman, if they need to come to space, they have to ask me. Oh, wow. Brother Eagle, it was a great idea. I like this. I didn't give man and woman the gift of flight. Okay, so give me the gift, said Brother Eagle. Creator said, but you know, I'm not making man and woman dumb. They will eventually get to space. They will eventually take up your airwaves. And you're not going to be around for so long. Brother Eagle left. We see him on occasion, not as often as we used to, though. Next up was Sister Dear. Sister Dear was a complete sweetheart. And you know, she really wanted this gift, and she really wanted to take this gift as deep into the forest as she could. She believed that if man and woman needed this gift, a long journey through the forest is exactly what they needed. Wow. Again, the Creator, astonished by the creations he's already made and their wisdom. Unfortunately, he had to tell Sister Dear that this was not going to work. Man and woman too need homes. Unfortunately, it means yours will be taken away, Sister Dear. Sister Dear, although sad, still frolics in the forest. She still goes. She still lives. The next to speak is an old soul. He's our grandfather. We call him Turtle, also known as Mother Earth. And Turtle said, you know what, Creator? If you give me this gift, I promise you, like Sky Woman, I will take this and I will put it deep under the ocean. I will put it deep under the sand. If man and woman want this gift, they simply have to follow me. They simply have to go into the ocean. The Creator loved this idea. He thought it was great. But once again, he had another vision, and unfortunately, he had to tell Turtle, it's not going to work. Man and woman, they like your ocean. They too will destroy that. Grandfather Turtle left. We see him too on occasion, not as often as we used to, though. And finally, the Creator, he said, you know what? I want you all to leave. I'll summon you back in a few days or so. I just need to be alone. The Creator, while alone, he thought of the animals that he had not called. He thought of Brother Beaver. He thought of Sister Crow, who was not that important because she doesn't have as beautiful as a call as Eagle. But nonetheless, he summoned the animals back together, and he asked, he stated, this is extremely important. These are gifts that you already instinctively have, but man and woman, I have to give it to them. Where do I put this gift? The animals were silent. Finally, Brother Bear came forward. He said, you know what, Creator? I'm the protector here. I protect the mountains, I protect the forests, I protect myself. Give me the gift. I'll put it deep into the caves. I'll put it deep into Pahasapa. Man and woman will never find it. The Creator, astonished by the first creation he's ever made, unfortunately had to tell Brother Bear that he was wrong. Man and woman will too go into your caves because they find something fascinating and shiny there that they need. Brother Bear left. That's why he hibernates for a period of time now, because Creator didn't see him for quite a few months. The Creator, once again, I need your help. I don't know where to put this gift. I need your assistance. There's a small voice. Creator! Creator! Yes? Hello? My brothers, my sisters, where are you? Creator! Creator, look down. Oh, Brother Mole! Brother Mole came forward. He said, Creator, you made me blind. You took away my eyesight that all my brothers and my sisters have. Do that to man and woman. Put them in darkness. Let them find the gift within themselves. I can't see. I have to live my life completely blind. But yet I know I have a gift. I make it known every day. Let man and woman have that same power within themselves. So this story I leave to you as a sense of integrity and a sense of hope for the future, that within each and every single one of us, when we feel blind and like we're completely lost in the dark, you have a gift. We all have a gift. Whether you're on the opposition or not, you have a gift. We need to use it because we're certainly in a time of darkness.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Neil. I'm from San Francisco, California. I went to John Cabot, and I now teach English, but I also work at the Almost Corner Bookshop with Dermot. And I wasn't planning to read this evening, but I am reading a book right now that we have at the bookshop. It's, I'll cover this here.
Thank you.
What We Do Now, Standing Up for Your Values in America. It's a collection of essays, and I thought I was inspired by all of you have read this evening, and I thought I'd share one of the essays. It's called We Are All Immigrants, and it's by Ilhan Omar, who is you've probably heard of her, many of you have heard of her. She is the first Somali American legislator from Minnesota. In fact, Ilhan Omar is the director of policy and initiatives of the Women Organizing Women Network and a member of the Minnesota House of Representatives. She is the first Somali American legislator in U.S. history. Okay. And the essay is called We Are All Immigrants. At the Democratic National Convention in 1936, the renominated President Franklin D. Roosevelt began his acceptance speech. Here and in every community throughout the land, we are met at a time of great moment to the future of the nation. End quote. Today we find ourselves at a similar moment. We must choose whether we strive for equity through the avenues of democracy or wake in bigotry's shadow. Our divisions have created a ravine of the soul of American democracy. The axiom of choice relies on humanity's better angels. Our notion of self-preservation remains the only obstacle to equity. It is essential we recognize the inherent obligation of humanity to build community. Surviving life in a refugee camp at a young age, I find this obligation to be very real. Hope and unity were essential to a fervent community. Having experienced grave injustice to the extent that we had to flee our homes, we got through each day by existing in solidarity, looking out for one another, and with the hope of one day finding a better life for our family and loved ones. My grandfather would hope aloud for what was to come, the possibilities of a free existence. His stories left me enamored of the mere concept of democratic participation. He cultivated my passion and engendered my American dream, a life dedicated to public service and the betterment of those without. A determined girl, I decided early on that the barriers were meant to be surpassed, and that heroism is nothing more than an acting with determination and compassion. We fled literal hunger and fell into the arms of a new starvation. Starvation that was not merely physical. The overwhelming lack of community and compassion. The profusion of ignorance that we have seen in the results of the recent election demonstrates the hunger that currently pervades every corner of our nation. The only way to sate this hunger is to educate. Knowledge is the sustenance that we must provide to all those who preach hatred, profess bigotry, and champion anti-intellectualism. Ignorance is antithetical to the nation we continue building together. We must root it out. Our words and our deeds must embody love of neighbor, compassion for all, and respect and understanding. In our nation, prejudice is institutional and rampant, leaving a majority of us doubled over under the yoke of oppression. It is easy to remain lost in the post-election shock. We forget that democracy is messy, and that its elegance is not aesthetic but ideological. Each of us is seeking comfort in this turbulent time, and the narrative of the Somali American Muslim woman elected at the same time as he who can't be named is easy to spin as victory. Honestly, this makes me chuckle. Never have I believed that the mere election of someone who looks like me would be an end-all to our problems. I have always known that taking the oath of office is merely the beginning. When I first came to the United States, I knew two phrases in English, hello and shut up. But the difficult part of going to school each day was not linguistic. It was the attitude teachers took toward our diaspora. Somalis are caricatures, as the remnants of a failed state lost to terrorism and piracy, inept and in need. Yet we have thrived in this land of opportunity. It is our home. I remember one day the teacher had a math problem on the board. As usual, I raised my hand knowing the answer, but the teacher didn't acknowledge me, even when no other student had their hand raised. So I got out of my seat, walked to the board, solved the problem, and quietly sat back down. That classroom did not provide opportunity to me, so I decided to take it myself. Such ethnic biases pervade every system in our society. We must remove them. This sentiment is shared by every once immigrant community in our nation. It is almost a rite of passage. If you can stand up to the oppression, your people can succeed. It is not the failings of oligarchic leadership that are the cause of our suffering, but the underlying tepidity of individual efforts. To ensure progress and change, we must, with intelligence, commit to that community building obligation rooted deeply in the human psyche. The way to prevent individual apathy is to bring everyone to the table, to build a coalition of all. It is complacent to assume that America, the great experiment, or any nation, will inevitably provide equality. An Athenian lawmaker, Solon, is quoted as saying, "Wrongdoing can only be avoided if those who are not wronged feel the same indignation at it as those who are." That was 2,500 years ago. Yet today we still decide. What does America stand for? Are we perpetrators of a false democracy in which the strong, the rich, the white survive and the weak, the poor, the oppressed, the disaffected suffer in the perennial battle for justice? Or do we believe in the principle that all people are created equal? America is the never-finished attempt at cosmopolitanism. We are all immigrants. To characterize overt xenophobia as nativism is not only laughable, but dangerous. When we refuse to acknowledge the failings of our forebears, we not only perpetuate ignorance, but we also strengthen inherent oppression, thus cementing the same systems at which we continue to chip away centuries later. Visualizing next steps should not lead to violent revolution. We live in a free and democratic society. Change will never be top-down. It must come from the roots and be nurtured, embodied by every American and manifested in our everyday actions and attitudes. Combating hate and reshaping our society by crafting an inclusive democracy is a great task, and we should consider ourselves blessed to be in positions of influence where we can make such a difference. It is simple. Talk to people. Visit with them. Broaden coalitions of love and acceptance. The precedent we set will become storied past, so our decisions should be based on long-term strategy. As we are undoing centuries of systemic inequality here in every community throughout the land, we are met at a time of great moment to the future of the nation.
Hi, my name is Lucy Denegri. I'm a student at Temple Rome. My name is Lucy Denegri. I'm a student at Temple Rome. I'm here for the semester. The piece I'm going to be reading has been going around kind of a lot since the election, but I think it's still a powerful and important piece. It's by Zoe Leonard. It's a manifesto called "I Want a Dyke for President." I want a dyke for president. I want a person with AIDS for president. And I want a fag for a vice president. And I want someone with no health insurance. And I want someone who grew up in a place where the earth is so saturated with toxic waste that they didn't have a choice about getting leukemia. I want a president that had an abortion at 16. And I want a candidate who isn't the lesser of two evils. And I want a president who lost their last lover to AIDS, who still sees that in their eyes every time they lay down to rest, who held their lover in their arms and knew they were dying. I want a president with no air conditioning, a president who has stood online at the clinic, at the DMV, at the welfare office, and who has been unemployed and laid off and sexually harassed and gay bashed and deported. I want someone who has spent the night in the tombs and had a cross burned on their lawn and survived rape. I want someone who has been in love and been hurt, who respects sex, who has made mistakes and learned from them. I want a black woman for president. I want someone with bad teeth, someone who has eaten hospital food, someone who cross-dresses and has done drugs and been in therapy. I want someone who has committed civil disobedience, and I want to know why this isn't possible. I want to know why we started learning somewhere down the line that a president is always a clown, always a John and never a hooker. always a boss and never a worker, always a liar, always a thief, and never caught.
I was kind of joking that I was going to tell a joke. So anyway, here I am. All right. This one is thanks to St. Zizek, actually. This takes place back in the old Soviet Union, okay? And so what happens here? You got a guy who's basically he's being sent away to the Gulag. And he's very concerned that he's going to be able to continue to keep up communications with his sister. And so they set up a wonderful sort of a system, okay, that basically he's going to write in black ink when everything is true, blue ink if everything is bullshit in a letter. All right, so they go back and forth for a little bit, and finally she finally gets her first letter in black ink, and she's very excited about this, okay, because finally she's going to figure out everything. And he writes her, he's very honest. He says, yeah, basically the train journey that we took to get over to the Gulag was it was difficult, it was cramped, but we were able to do it. The solidarity with the prisoners was not terrible, so it was all right. It made the train journey okay. Once we got there, we got into our prison uniforms, and they were not nearly sort of as scratchy as I imagined that they would be, and so it was not as bad as I thought. But then they took us to our bunks, and the mattresses were soft. I could not believe it. They were soft. There were no bed bugs in them. They were beautiful. They were beautiful. Landowners would sleep on these mattresses. And the food became unbelievable. It was incredible. They were bringing food in from beef from Argentina, which is not how it worked, but I don't remember the beef selling region of Russia. Sorry, guys. Anyway, there you go. It's awesome. Everything is great. So the food is great, and my God, it's just and sort of the leisure time that we have, we're able to go out into the yard, and it's despite the Siberian cold, it's always sunny and gorgeous and everything else. And the only problem here is that there is no fucking blue ink. That's it. So yeah, I don't know. I just want you all to remember, moving forward, guys. I think our press needs to be reminded to stock up on their blue ink.
Bill, did you want to do some Thoreau?
Just 2 lines.
All right.
Henry David Thoreau wrote an essay called The Duty of Civil Disobedience. And the 2 lines that I remember most are what should be our attitude toward the present government of America. You cannot, without disgrace, have anything to do with it.
Hello guys. I'm the bartender and I'm non-reading. I host a weekly reading here every Wednesday called Suddenly Every Wednesday, which some of you know about and you come to, and that's lovely, and hopefully you'll come if you'd like. And I also write poems, and I really want to write a poem for tonight, and for the last 2 weeks, whenever I've had a chance, I've been trying to write a poem, but to no avail. And it's been a huge failure. And earlier tonight I was feeling pretty down about it, and And so I was bummed out that I wasn't going to read something. And I write Persian formed poetry, right? So it would have been a ghazal, but it would also have been a sonnet. It was going to be so cool. And so it's going to be like iambic pentameter, but then like a ghazal, every couplet, every bait ends with the same word, which is called the radif. And before the last word, there's the word that rhymes that goes through it. And the last word is going to be trembling. And every line was going to end with the word trembling. And I was going to read it while trembling. And the paper I was holding was going to be shaking. And the trembling comes from something that Jean Genet said at a speech he gave for the Black Panthers when he was smuggled into the United States, about the United States and the United States' tendency to tremble, and how people in power tremble to those with money, and how people tremble and tremble and tremble, and it's this endless cycle of trembling that gets us to where we are now, in a way. And I was thinking about trembling, and I was thinking about a Michael Clark dance choreography piece, where it's just the shivering man, and he's just shivering. I was going to do that. The format of the chronology of the poem was going to be based on a Pylon song. Does anybody remember Pylon? They're a band from Athens, Georgia, in the 80s. There's a song and the head is shaking because the arms are shaking, because the feet are shaking, because the ground is shaking. And it was gonna be this like Jabberwockish creature I was gonna talk about, who's trembling from head to toe, and then you get to the toes and you get to the land, and then the land is trembling. It's gonna be so good. But I didn't get finished writing it, and I was really bummed out. And I thought, well, no, I can't contribute anything to the reading. And then I thought I can do a non-reading, because it reminds me about a decade ago when I used to be one half of a half-drag duo, performance art duo. And one night we had to perform. We were in our heels and our wigs, and we didn't have any of the things we were supposed to perform. And so we had to go out, and we had to sit on benches in nothing but panties and heels. And we had to tell everybody that we were sorry. That this wasn't going to happen the way we thought it was. And I'll spare you the panties and heels tonight. But that being said, it was really important, I thought, to at least take the moment to still express the things that I wanted to express, or that one feels like they should express, even if they feel like they're failing. I feel like that's maybe even more important, because everything is a little bit harder to do in these times. And so, even though I don't have the poem for you, I think you get the idea. And on top of that, I wanted to put both my queer shoulders to the wheel and wear my pearls, because recently there was another young person who shall not be named, and I've grown up loving bitchy faggots, if I may say, and but currently there are not such nice bitchy faggots in the world, and they've taken my pearl game, and they've started rocking my pearls, and I thought, if anything, it's important that I end up on YouTube wearing my fucking pearls. So that was my non-reading. Thank you.
Ready to ad-lib after Jahan. Anybody ready to jump in? Okay, so Alex.
I can.
Come on up. I forgot, Alex. We started talking, and then we had then we got yelled at for the glass outside.
Right, of course. Came running back.
All right.
Cool. Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to.
Can you tell us your surname, though, Alex?
It's Gregor. My full name is Alex Gregor. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been in Rome for a couple years now. And I come weekly to, well, not weekly, every few weeks to Suddenly Every Wednesday, John's reading series, and I highly recommend it. So I wanted to, tonight I chose a few of my poems that are not political poems, but I do think that they can be read as a form of resistance. I think that resistance takes many forms, manifests itself differently, and so I decided to take a few of a selection of a few of pieces from a collection that I have that's called Fawcett, and it's a really long series. So here they are. Measure out your words and stones and prepare them for throwing. Carve out a hole in your skull and exercise your demons. Crumple up your map and swallow your compass. the lodestone will dissolve in your belly and lead you off the path. Follow the will-o'-the-wisp into the bog where no man speaks but only signs. You can find me drinking wine out of goblets on top of the jungle gym, perched up like a guinea fowl on a branch full of roses. Without a stock pot in sight, I got the switch of the whippoorwill, forked as foretold. Been searching this desert for the good news and all these marginal comments. Traded in the fat of the land for the creme de la creme and the chicken pot pie. I've been munching on these four-leaf clovers off a silver dollar platter with my wooden spoon in hand. I show you, I moosh you, I cock-a-doodle-doo, and when the good word is spoken, I stomp, stammer, and spit. Stop kicking that mackerel and the hen that doesn't lay. Keep your ears to the ground. There is no screen between yourself and the projection. On the icy exoplanet, the atomic clock ticks faster, the Tau minute hand skipping seconds, a tractor engine hums. If not now, then when? I was led down into the rabbit hole, the birds and the bees turned to vultures and hornets, but I put together the puzzle one piece at a time, like being stranded on an island and realizing it's a whale. Been waving my saint stick like a sodium flare, and when I was given a gold sift to drill deep for oil, I coughed up a lung and ground my teeth down to Tic Tacs. Enough with the watermelon and the roundabout tuna. I just saw a chicken hawk swoop down and snag a wharf rat in that there gutter. This is not just the meat, but the potatoes too. When the shit hits the fan, time folds over on itself like tennis shoes. I'm a growing boy. Know what I mean, Butterbean? I got the crap shooter's blues. No moon, no magic, no water means no wells. I flip my eyeballs inside out in Dumbo. I put my mouth to the spigot and spray jangly cheese. Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far, far away from this moonlight that's passing through a cloud of ice crystals. There's more than one way to pluck a buzzard. Like a cat that drags in every dead thing that it finds, I am the owner with runs in my hose. I primrose to never spiffy long stockings. That'll peel back the paint on your windpipe. I always end up playing a shepherd that compares a fly to a camel's back. I tries to go with the flow, but alls I feels is the undertow and the everlasting crank of the eternal hurdy-gurdy. To soak up time, spangled, to be suspended in it, stumped, to keep track, taken. I tip these scales till the walls come tumbling down. I am the pond skater on the event horizon, skipping stones with Romulus and Remus across the underbelly of the feast. I light one torch to Dionysus and another to Ceres, then fall off the turnip truck and dry my mouth out with a blow dryer. I am waiting for a day that stars but never begins. Dig, they said, so I dug down deep till a blue jay flew out my larynx. Then I flipped the script, chubby bunny, baby boomer, stovepipe, rip roaring, slickety get gullet. I couch up on some strings to become decreased within a window of opportunity. To make a cup of hot soup, stir in the gluons and quarks. It's the buffet no limit, and there ain't nobody here but us chickens. To become derailed. A ship, of course. Honey spigot. Honey spigot. I open up my flour and spit. Sticky, icky, icky. I can do it with my hands tied. Am I irate? A worm digger. Am I not a nutcracker? This fig. I open up my flour and spit. Yodel-hee-hoo. This is a brinicle forming stop. I have to spill the beans and belch out the toad. It's not always the same soup, and the story is rarely the same. This is the red tide rising. This is the light from 1,000 bioluminescent shrimp scaling up a mountain. This is the sound of tectonic plates shifting. This is the sound of a paraplegic's leg straightening. I open up my flour and spit, hot damn and hell yeah. This is the sound of gravitational waves breaking. This is the sound of mathematical jargon speaking. This is the sound of our atoms colliding. This is the roar of cicadas buzzing. I open up my flour and spit, stutter me footsteps. This is the sound of a sacred shape note shotgun choir singing. This is the sound of a monotonic bullfrog chamber monk chanting. This is the sound of a salt flap super bloom. This is the sound of a hydrothermal vent spewing. This is the sound of a mustard seed sprouting. And you, mustard seed, you are the moon at its zenith above the serene floating city, drawing the water up from the bottom of the lagoon and flooding the canals. This is the sound of high water rising, and we are the mud skippers crawling up the banks, and we are the stone pines buckling in the wind. I open up my flour and spit, irk! This is the sound of honey spigot, honey spigot. This is the sound of honey spigot, honey spigot. This is the sound of honey spigot, and someone hears it. I do, you do, we do, honey spigot. Up in the crow's nest and in the mastheads too. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Elizabeth Gahagan, and I'm gonna wrap it up, and with just a few poems that I haven't practiced, so bear with me. The first poem is by a poet and essayist named Eliza Griswold. She was here at the American Academy of Rome a few years ago. She was also a Nieman Fellow. She's a war correspondent and a poet, and she's written a book of nonfiction about the intersection of Christianity and Islam. And I'm just going to read one tiny little poem from her book, Wide Awake Field, which is more or less all about her experiences in the Middle East, working as a war correspondent for the New Yorker and other magazines. It's called The Politics of Dreams. The hooded men run through the daytime streets, anonymous, wreaking havoc. The hoods designed to contain them can be seen out of, but not into, like smoked glass. They are against us, and to save ourselves, we string them by the dozen upside down, hooded, trussed, and writhing. Some die, which is a relief. After the hanging, there's no letting them go. You asked me what I dreamt of. Now you know. Took it lighter. Thank you. And the second poem, I actually have like so many poems I want to read and so many pieces I want to read, and it's hard to narrow it down, but it's the end of the night, so I'm just going to do a couple. The second poem is by a poet named Mahmoud Darwish, and this is his book. It's called A River Dies of Thirst. And this book is a real mystery because it arrived in an Amazon envelope, but I never knew who sent it to me. It just came one day, and nothing ever arrives at my house from Amazon or anybody else. So it was very interesting. And it was this little beautiful book of poems, and I opened it up, and I realized that the first line I read was going to be the first line of my novel, or the sort of quote that I would start my novel off with. But I later found out that it was a former student of mine, who's a wonderful writer herself, that sent it to me. But it was a great mystery for years. And so I'm just going to read you his bio because I think it's pertinent. Mahmoud Darwish was born in 1941 and died in 2008. He's one of the most celebrated poets and remarkable human beings of our time. His poems were set to music, discussed in the Israeli Knesset, and his poetry recitals filled entire stadiums. He was born in Upper Galilee, Palestine, and he and his family fled to Lebanon in 1948. His poetry, ever evolving in form, yet always guided by compassion, love, and humanity, gave a soaring voice to the uprooted Palestinian people. Every beautiful poem is an act of resistance, Darwish reminds us. That's a quote from him. In 2001, he was awarded the Land and Cultural Freedom Prize. Okay, and this is the first poem I opened to today. There's two that I opened to. The first one I opened to today just was this one, so I'm going to read it. Empty Boxes. If peace is a pause between two wars, then the dead have a right to vote. We will choose the general. If war is an accident on the motorway, then the living have a duty to vote. We will choose the donkey. But the living did not go to the ballot box, not because the snow was falling in big flakes, but because a sudden paralysis afflicted the city's inhabitants, and when they opened their windows, they saw spiders spinning their webs in the snow and went blind. When they tried to hear what was going on, storms arose, whose wild sounds were unfamiliar to them, and they went deaf. The astrologer said, "It is the chaos of existence at the door of the Last Judgment." Luckily, or unluckily for us, foreign historians, experts on our destinies and our oral history, were not here, so we don't know what happened to us. And then, if you guys can bear two, I will read two by Joy Harjo. Joy Harjo is a wonderful poet who also plays music and performs her poetry to music, and she's Native American. And this is from a book called In Mad Love and War. Okay, Harjo, yeah. The first one's a prose poem, and it's called, the last one was a prose poem as well, it's called Transformations. This poem is a letter to tell you that I have smelled the hatred you have tried to find me with. You would like to destroy me, bones splintered in the eye of one you choose to name your enemy won't make it better for you to see. It could take 1,000 years if you name it that way, but then, to see after all that time, never could anything be so clear. Memory has many forms. When I think of early winter, I think of a blackbird laughing in the frozen air, guards a piece of light. I saw the whole world caught in that sound. The sun stopped for a moment because of tough belief. I don't know what that has to do with what I'm trying to tell you, except that I know you can turn a poem into something else. This poem could be a bear treading the far northern tundra, smelling the air for sweet, alive meat, or a piece of seaweed stumbling in the sea, or a blackbird laughing. What I mean is that hatred can be turned into something else if you have the right words, the right meanings, buried in that tender place in your heart where the most precious animals live. Down the street, an ambulance has come to rescue an old man. Who was imbalanced, maybe. Down the street, an ambulance has come to rescue an old man who is slowly losing his life. Not many can see that he is already becoming the backyard tree he tended for years before he moves on. He is not sad, but compassionate for the fears moving around him. That's what I mean to tell you. On the other side of the place you live stands a dark woman. She has been trying to talk to you for years. You have called the same name in the middle of a nightmare from the center of miracles. She is beautiful. This is your hatred back. She loves you. Okay, and the last one is also by Joy Harjo, and it's called When the World as We Knew It Ended. And I know I was supposed to read Langston Hughes, but this just jumped out at me. So, When the World as We Knew It Ended by Joy Harjo. We were dreaming on an occupied island at the furthest edge of a trembling nation when it went down. 2 towers rose up from the east island of commerce and touched the sky. Men walked on the moon. Oil was sucked dry by 2 brothers. Then it went down, swallowed by a fire dragon, by oil and fear, eaten whole. It was coming. We had been watching since the eve of the missionaries in their long and solemn clothes to see what would happen. We saw it from the kitchen window over the sink as we made coffee, cooked rice and potatoes, enough for an army. We saw it all as we changed diapers and fed the babies. We saw it through the branches of the knowledgeable tree, through the snags of stars, through the sun and storms from our knees as we bathed and washed the floor. The conference of the birds warned us as they flew over. Destroyers in the harbor, parked since the first takeover. It was by their song and talk we knew when to rise, when to look out the window to the commotion going on, the magnetic field thrown off by grief. We heard it, the racket in every corner of the world, as the hunger for war rose up in those who would steal to be president, to be king or emperor, to own the trees, stones, and everything else that moved about the earth, inside the earth, and above it. We knew it was coming, tasted the winds, who gathered intelligence from each leaf and flower, from every mountain, sea, and desert, from every prayer and song, all over this tiny universe, floating in the skies of infinite being. And then it was over. This world we had grown to love for its sweet grasses, for the many-colored horses and fishes, for the shimmering possibilities while dreaming. But then there were the seeds to plant, and the babies who needed milk and comforting, and someone picked up a guitar or a ukulele from the rubble and began to sing about the light flutter, the kick beneath the skin of the earth we felt there beneath us. A warm animal, a song being born between the legs of her, a poem. I just want to say thank you to everyone, all of you guys, for reading, for participating, for jumping in at the last minute, for showing up, for showing solidarity, for all your help, Brian, with the film. I know your work is yet to come. John, Patricia, whose idea this was, and this would not have happened without her. She is the princess of bad and nasty, and we owe it to her. So thanks, everyone.